Herzlich willkommen bei Wein am Limit, liebe Walinauten. Schön, dass ihr dabei seid zu Mehr Spaß im Glas. Heute habe ich nochmal, es geht weiter mit Englisch hier. Also, tut mir einen Gefallen, Leute, holt das Dictionary raus. Neben mir ist nämlich ein ganz bekannter Mann der neuseeländischen Weinszene. Das ist Steve Smith, Master of Wine from Craggy Range, from Hawke's Bay.
That is correct.
How is my New Zealandish coming along?
Well, your
As a
English is good. The accent needs a little work.
Okay, I'll work on the accent. Well, you're on a promotion tour through Europe. What's your observation so far?
Well, I mean, most of Europe
regarding New Zealand.
Yeah, most of Europe is new for a lot of European people. New Zealand is new for them, so it's like introducing a different view of New Zealand to what they may be used to, which is, you know, a lot of times about Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah.
The wines that we make are a little different, so it's telling a different story.
To be honest, has Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc killed the image of New Zealand in terms of that it was maybe too one-dimensional, there's only that wine, or?
I think it was really important that we had a wine like that to introduce to the market, but now it's really important that we step out and show people there's a lot more to what New Zealand does.
What has changed in the last 10 years in New Zealand? I mean, that's because to many people, I talked yesterday to a bunch, and they said, New Zealand, I didn't know that it exists. Why? They have wines out there. So.
Well, I mean, the modern New Zealand wine story is only a generation old, you know, 20, 25 years. What's happened in the last 10 or 12 years is all of the best vineyards have been planted with the right clones in the right way. As winemakers, we've got to understand the land and the style of wines that we want to make. And because the vineyards are now starting to mature, you know, particularly with red wine, you're starting to see a much more interesting and diverse selection of wines than you saw 10 years ago.
So, in other words, let's say there's a story which is a little bit untold in public.
Yeah, there's a big story, yeah.
And, well, there is England, which I think is a very important market for you.
Yeah.
It has always been, but the continent. Here in Germany, for example, what do you see here?
Well, again, it's new for people. So I think the really great thing is that when you introduce this wider range of wines to German people, they really do understand them. Particularly, I think the wines that we make are not in the typical big, bold European, New World fashion. They've got a little bit more of the Old World composed in them. So they like that.
Craggy Range, when did it all started? I think it's a fairly new winery.
Yeah, we started as a greenfields operation, so that means we Greenfields operation, no vineyards, no land, nothing. In 1999, when we purchased our first 2 pieces of land in the Gimlet Gravels and in Martinborough. So it's just now that our vineyards are starting to show the true potential, actually. So 10, 12 years old.
So, but for that short period of time, you have received a lot of accolades from all over the world. How come? How does that go? I mean, people here in this country working for generations, they don't get any accolades at all.
Maybe we're loud.
No, I don't think so. So there's some work in it, isn't it?
I mean, I think the statement that Craggy Range made early on, which is the whole single vineyard idea, the wines that really put our name in front of people, was one of the wines we're going to try today, the Syrah, which people didn't expect to see. And when you make something exciting and new and unexpected, that does get quite a lot of attention around the world. And I think what's happened is over the last 10 years, every year we've started to deliver on that. So it's good.
First wine. Quite exciting. So you have quite a lot of styles, I saw on your webpage. So this is called Aroha Timuna.
Timuna, yeah. So Pinot Noir from our Martinborough vineyard, which is at the bottom of the North Island. Craggy specialises in single vineyard wines, and because New Zealand is such a diverse country, it means that under the one label we can actually produce a range of different styles. All we need to do is make sure that we have the vineyards right, and then the second thing is within the winery we've got the right resources to be able to make the wines in the right way, and then it's down to people, our interpretation of that place, and from a winemaking point of view, how we go about making those different styles of wines that truly reflect the variety in the place.
Okay, so how big is the vineyard then?
So we have 5 estates at Craggy. The 2 main estates are our Gimlet Gravels vineyard and this vineyard, which is our Tamuna Road vineyard. It is a total production of about a total area of vines of 90 hectares, of which 35 to 36 hectares is under Pinot Noir.
Okay, so that's quite, well, in Germany that would be an estate. But for you, you have to think a little bit bigger in New Zealand. Yeah,
well, I mean, the land's available, you know, and so New Zealand's new, so there are pieces of land when you're able to buy them. You look at it, and this is fantastic soil, fantastic place. We're going to buy the entire parcel of it, and the idea of having a large estate. What we do is we break it into small parcels. Okay. And each of we have probably 40 different parcels of Pinot Noir in the vineyard, and we farm them separately. manage them separately, harvest them separately, ferment them as separate parcels. And then either we make a wine like this, which is from 2 parcels, or our estate wine, which is a blend of a broader range of the estate.
So there's alcohol on the table. We're not drinking.
There is not.
Okay,
Sorry.
so let's go for it. So Pinot Noir always is. I mean, the color. I think for Pinot Noir, regardless, I think many people are by far too fast in judging.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
so it's a little transparent, though it's a quite deep color, I think.
Yeah, it's quite darkly coloured, but it's not dense. So I think the idea with Pinot is that it can be light and it should seduce. It needn't be dark coloured at all.
So from the flavor profile, I mean, we were thinking of doing maybe a tasting before we, had some emails, and we were thinking doing a maybe benchmark with Burgundy. But I think it's unnecessarily. This is quite unique in style. It's a little bit richer, I think.
Yeah, well, I think from the New World that is exactly a sort of stamp that you'll get. You'll always have some lusciousness of the New World, but what we want to try and do is bring in some of the sense of the place, which is where you get these textural elements. So the savoury, sinewy, nervy feel to the wine comes from the place.
Has a lot of acidity in a good way. I mean, so there's a lot of freshness. So you get a lot of the strawberry kind of cherry flavors, spicy. I think this is very spicy. And then on the palate, I think it's beautiful because you have the length was building through the acid.
Yep.
Acid sounds a little bit harsh, but it's what I like about Pinot.
But it's a really important part of the wine. I mean, and I think it's what differentiates the really great New Zealand Pinots from the rest of the New World, which tend to be a little bit softer and sweeter. The great New Zealand Pinots do have this nerve and tension and sort of that it feels like it comes from somewhere. That one that's got a sense.
It tastes quite light, I have to say. It's not heavy duty, so it's a kind of it's on the palate. It's dancing.
Yeah, well, I have a description for this wine as feathery. It's like a feathery character, so it's nothing that is very obvious or very harsh or very dominant. It's got lots of little gentle pieces to it. It's very long. And Pinot should seduce. It shouldn't be a red grape variety that dominates the palate. It should seduce. Like I can still taste it, which in a couple of minutes since
and this is quite young, I think. So
2011, just released. Yeah,
that's going to be really beautiful. Probably in another 3 or 4 years. You can drink it now.
Yeah, well, we're just looking at our 2008 now. I think that is in really perfect. In the perfect space at the moment. How long it's going to stay in that space, we don't know, because these wines are very new. We're the first generation of people that have been making wine from this vineyard, so we don't have the benefit of understanding the vineyard.
How do you identify a vineyard to say, hey, that's suitable for? You just do it, or do you do some research?
I think it's a combination of a couple, 2 or 3 things. One is obviously you do all the climatic and soil and all of those details. You get all your information. You then, very importantly, go and talk to the local farmers and get to understand what the area is like, particularly like this vineyard for us. This is a new area of Martinborough, so nobody else was there when we went there. Yeah. And then it's an instinctive feel, walking around the land in the evenings and in the morning and feeling whether this is right. This vineyard is in the area called Te Muna. Te Muna is a Maori word. When it is translated from Maori to English, it means a secret place. And so the Maori people named their places based on what they felt or what they did there. So it wasn't anything else than that. So when they call it a secret place, and they did that, I don't know, 800 years ago,
so they already had.
There's got to be something good about it.
It's almost like the Romans when they planted the Hermitage or Villenazon, or the big vineyards were planted in ancient times. Already with that kind of perception.
Yeah, I think so.
Feeling for a great place.
Yeah, I think they've got a good feeling, and yeah.
This is vinified in barrique, but I think very gentle.
Vinified in open top wooden fermenters, and then aged in French barrique, Asian barriques, French barriques. About 40% of them are new for about 10 months. So, but again, I've always thought that oak should be in the background with wines. It should be a little like a seasoning rather than to be obvious, and that's the art with Pinot.
Because many people still think New World wines are, in general, too oaky, too concentrated. I mean, hey, ladies and gentlemen, there's other wines out there, I have to say, like this one, which I think is nice. It's undeniably a little bit of has a southern hemisphere punch. Has a little bit more of that fruit, but it's like this, what you would say, feathery, and this is what I really like about it. So this is going to be like, I'm rating this wine, okay? Yeah. You can hit me in the face later.
Yeah, okay, we'll wait.
No, but this is to me like 5 soul points. This is like a very high rating for me, because I think this is where really great wines. I'll be, and maybe 6 soul points when I taste the 2008 later.
Perfect.
Okay. So now we're coming to something which I observed on my last visit to New Zealand. This is a grape variety you have made great progress on.
Yeah.
So we are now talking about Gimlet Gravels.
Yep. The Craggy Range Le Sol, which is 100% Syrah.
Okay, so Syrah is a northern Rhone grape variety.
Yep.
It grows everywhere.
Yep.
It can be quite sweet and heavy sometimes.
Yep.
And in New Zealand, I haven't tasted this one.
Well, one of the reasons we call it Syrah rather than the Australian Shiraz is because it feels a little bit more like it comes from the Rhone, the northern Rhone, rather than the New World, because it is cooler, and therefore you get some more of the lifted, fresher sort of characteristics rather than the richer characteristics you get, say, from the Barossa Valley or from California.
Tell me about Gimlet Gravels. I think that seems to be something which is establishing now as, let's say, Médoc or Puligny-Morachet. It's really an area.
Yeah, so climatically it's very similar to the Rhone and Bordeaux, and also, like Bordeaux, quite close to the ocean. Very stony soils, and these stony soils are the reason for it existing, because those stones absorb the heat, absorb the light, and then release the heat at night. And it is the reason why we can make wines like this. Also, the clone that was used to make these wines came into New Zealand in the mid-1850s. So it's been in the country for quite a long time, but not really propagated very much. So this came to New Zealand before the dramas of phylloxera, and that hit Europe. So it's a really old clone.
This is a beautiful wine, I have to say. Like, look at the color first of all. It's deep, but what I like about the color, it's really saturated. It's and
it sort of sparkles too. So it's not as if it is dark, but it doesn't go dark and sort of flat. It's got some luminosity to it. It really does sparkle.
And what I think you're really right on, considering that this is more a Syrah than it is a Shiraz, because you really get that kind of meatiness in it, the black olive, the roasted herbs.
There's more savoury notes to it rather than the fruit notes that you get from warmer areas.
You get a lot of accolades for this wine? You must, because I think this is really nice. This is really beautiful. This is so pure, so fresh.
This is our rock star wine.
It is.
This is the wine that we've been making Le Sol since 2001, and it's the wine that put Craggy Range on the map. And the great thing is that as these vines have got older, we've seen a progression in the stamp of the place on this wine.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and I can taste stones in that. It's got a minerality to the acidity and tannins that you don't see in other places.
Yeah, it's really fresh. It's unique. I mean, there is maybe, you could say yes, Northern Rhone, but then again, no, forget it, because these wines.
This is from our place.
Yeah, this is really from where it is. Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what do you drink with it?
What do I eat with it?
Oh, eat and drink with it. Sorry, excuse me. Had a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc last night.
Yeah. Anyway, well, I mean, I think good New Zealand venison. I mean, Germany is New Zealand's biggest market for our venison.
Yeah.
So I think if you found some great New Zealand venison, and make sure you cooked it with a savoury sauce or a savoury accompaniment rather than sweet, then I think that's a pretty nice match.
I would go for lamb.
Yeah, you could go for lamb too.
Because it have some fat in it. This is a beautiful wine. Hey guys, if you don't know anything about New Zealand Syrah, if you want to start on the top, I think this is it. This is really it. Probably you get the great accolades from the big dudes. What do our American friends say?
Yes, our American friends give this. In fact, Le Sol is New Zealand's most accoladed red wine.
Oh, so how much? How many points?
Varies from 93 to 96, depending on the...
Okay, well I give 6 points, okay? My American friends need to lift the points a little bit on this wine. This is beautiful. No, this is really, really nice. I'd like to see it in 2 or 3 years, but it's drinking nicely at the moment. This is a fantastic wine. And how much do they retail for here? How do you know? Just about?
Around about 50 euros.
Yeah, 50 to 60 euros. So they're in the fine wine market. But if you took both of these wines against something similar from either Burgundy or the Rhone, I think you'd actually end up with some pretty good value.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, probably in other regions, probably you end up 80, 90 euro for something like this.
Absolutely.
And I mean, 50 euro is 50 euro. Okay? Use less gas, drink more. That's my idea. Walk and drink more.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for these 2 really great wines, which show an insight that New Zealand is about variety and lots of things, different things, and not necessarily about Sauvignon Blanc.
Absolutely. We make Sauvignon, but this is a real red wine story of New Zealand.
So now I have something for you prepared.
Okay, great. I'm really looking forward to this.
You already saw it. So I have something for you, your master of wine, and I think people can learn a lot from you.
This is not really fair.
If you hand me over those 2 glasses, please. Well, what do you think about blind tasting?
Uh,
How do you perceive?
it's a lot easier to try and guess what the wine is when you know the label. And this is not making me feel any better looking at this.
But do you think it's a macho thing?
Oh, look, some people have naturally incredibly great palates. So they can just look at a wine and they go, bang, I know exactly what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have to work really hard at it. So I think it's really important to look at a wine without being influenced by the label. I think that gives you a very unbiased view of it. But I mean, Clive Coates did a really great piece on understanding the estate.
That's Clive Coates is an English wine writer.
Yeah, he did a great, and he's never tasted blind in his life, and he's given he's one of the greatest
Burgundy
critics that I've
palates.
seen, particularly Burgundy palate. And he's able to do it without it. So I think it depends. It's important to know how to do it, but I don't think it's everything.
I think what is important sometimes when you taste a wine, that you've been honest to yourself, and that's
Yeah.
all. And this is not about getting it; it's
Yeah.
just about do I like it or not. And a lot of
Absolutely.
people are trying to go to the goal, and I think that's not the issue with the wine. I mean,
No.
you want to see do you like it or not, what do you think it could be, and that's game kind of.
It is, yeah. You've got to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's have fun with this wine.
it's probably made from white grapes. How's that for a good start?
You are very right, my dear. That's. Well, yeah, I'm not sure though. Maybe it's just the color here and the light. What my idea is to pour you this wine just to see if you can get close to the age, what it is, and if you might find out where it could come from, what it is. I mean, the better. But to me, really interesting is how old is this wine?
Ooh. Well, I can only tell you what I'm smelling and tasting, and then come to some conclusion. So I get a really strong quince character on the nose.
And if you start with the color, so
Yeah.
there's some little orange in it, so and
Yeah,
honey.
It's either got a lot of botrytis in it and relatively young, or it's
Yeah.
got some age. And I'm sort of thinking it could be more than 10 years old.
Yeah, it is more
Yeah,
than 10 years old.
yeah. So maybe even more than that.
Do you see some green hues in the wine, or do you
not
think
a-
it's matured now?
Well, I don't think it's mature because it's still bright, but I don't see much greenness either. So it's definitely moved to a mature state from a colour point of view, but it's still got some sparkle to it. So to me, it's probably still got some life just from the colour point of view.
What do you think about the viscosity?
Yeah, I mean it doesn't feel like it's thick or oily. It's definitely, to me, and when I look at that, particularly, I'm thinking that this is probably a sweet wine. Is that it's not from somewhere warm.
Okay. And then we got the flavors. You had the quince.
I got quince. I get a little bit of some sort of toast, sort of lime marmalade characteristics, which lines me up towards again a little bit of botrytis in the wine.
Yes, yes. He's good.
I'm only halfway there.
That's New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, 20 years old.
I think I might know what that tastes like.
I have to drink it. This is breakfast wine for me. That was wonderful.
Delicious, a lot lighter than I was expecting. So quite lowish alcohol. Probably under 10. It's the cool climate white grapes, Riesling. Maybe heading towards Riesling.
It's a Riesling. It's a Riesling, okay.
Yeah.
You want to give a guess now, coming closer, something to region?
I'm thinking alcohol. I'm thinking the style of it. I'm thinking Mosel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Getting there.
Getting there.
Very good.
I'm not sure whether I can get much.
No, you can get closer. Maybe there's the Mosel, there's the Saar, there's the Ruwer. It's quite light. It's quite acidic.
I'm going. Are you suggesting it's Saarua rather than Mosel?
Okay, very good. And you want to give another guess on the age?
Oh, I'm thinking Riesling looking like that. I think it might be more like 20 years old rather than 10 years old.
Yeah. Okay. So, you want to see it?
Yeah,
I
let's
think
have a look.
First of all, give him an applause here. Huh? He's done a great job. That's the master of wine. That's what they can do, you know. But which is really nice. But
Yeah,
you do it very structured. And,
I
you
think
know,
that's the
getting
way that
closer to
I
it.
work. It's a process of elimination and going through the bits.
It is 1975. So
Wow.
you got close. So that's
30 years old rather than
that's
20.
Almost 40, I think.
Oh, almost, yeah. 40 years
And
old.
it's Kanzimmer Altenberg, It's ungrafted, still on its
Really?
ungrafted rootstocks. Riesling and 1975. Maximilian von Ottegrafen.
It's fantastic.
We have a wine so
beautiful
old
wine.
and still...
But it's still got some
vibrant.
energy, you know.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
still, what is
yeah.
it? It's 40 years old,
And
and
I
it's
thought
still
maybe-
alive.
And I thought maybe
you.
it suits very well into these, because these, when they get older, maybe we have a lot of surprises
Well-
like this.
We should do it again in 20 years. What do you reckon?
Okay, good idea. Well, thanks for stopping by.
Perfect.
Is there any question you'd like to have to my friends out there? Because sometimes...
Well, I think the really important thing with New Zealand is that you open your mind. If you open your mind and you look for the wines and look to your, the people, the restaurants who supply wine or the retailers that stock great wine, just ask them about getting you some interesting New Zealand wine, and I think you'll have a great surprise.
That's interesting what you said, because I said that in Australia not too long ago.
Yeah.
Australia and New Zealand both are about complexity, variety, lots of things to... And
Yeah, there is.
the German importers, I ask you to import more interesting wines from New Zealand, because there are. Okay?
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
See you later. Thanks.
And well
Thanks, mate.
done on the Riesling here. Very good.